Hi there, and welcome to the HR Podcast. This is Linda Misegadis
and Cyndi Manuel, and we'll be your co-hosts. After spending years working in and with HR, we thought, why not start a podcast to support the important HR community? We believe the way things have always been done isn't necessarily what's going to work in the future. So we're diving into topics that support HR and working women as they navigate the future of work. We're talking about professional growth and also how we can support each other as human beings.
We can't wait to bring you insights from HR experts, thought leaders, and inspiring women who are making a real difference in their organization and communities. They'll share their journeys and tips on balancing work and life in a better way. We're excited to learn alongside you and hope you'll pick up some great takeaways from tips and tricks to worksheets that you can actually use in your daily life. So grab your favorite beverage
or lace up your walking shoes and join us for the HR Her Resources podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Her Resources podcast. I'm excited to be back in the studio with my co-host Cyndi Manuel. How are you today?
Good morning. I am so excited about today. This is something I'm very, very passionate about, internship. So I'm very happy about this.
Yeah, I know you've been talking about this episode for a little while.
And driving you guys crazy.
That's all right. It's good. That means it's important and it's a good topic for us to talk about. So before we have you introduce our incredible guests on the show today, I want to give just a few stats around internship programs, if that's all right. I want to talk a little bit. So 68% of interns are offered full-time positions at the company where they interned, and 80% of those offers are accepted generally. That's from the National Association of College and Employers. So as we talk about, really struggling to find people, well, think about your intern programs. Organizations that hire former interns as full-time employees experience higher retention rates compared to those who hire externally. One study actually found that 75% of interns stay at their companies for at least 1 year compared to 50% of external hires. Also, companies with structured internship programs tend to have more diverse talent pipelines, with 57% of employers reporting that internships help increase diversity hiring. And women represent about 40% of interns across industries, but disparities exist still in STEM fields where female representation in internships is as much lower, often below 25%, which that's crazy. And then the last one I want to just kind of point out before we jump in is that unpaid internships are often a barrier to entry for women and underrepresented groups. Women are less likely to take unpaid internships compared to men, as they often lack the financial means to work without pay. And paid internships result in higher employment rates post-graduation, about 66% versus 43% for unpaid internships. So just some interesting statistics to get us started. So.
Just shows the importance of what we're doing here today, right?
Oh my goodness. I totally agree. It's such a critical component. And I know you and I had the great fortune of having an amazing intern back at the city and county of Denver. And we would not have been able to accomplish many of the things that we did without having her there working with us. Yeah. And she ended up with a wonderful career at the city and county of Denver.
She's still there. Tyson Martins. Yeah. Let's give a shout out to her for sure.
Absolutely.
And those stats that you were just sharing, so thank you for sharing those because it just highlights what we're discussing today. But also those are, big businesses, right? Or bigger than small businesses, which I'm a small business. So I also want to represent today just, how small businesses can benefit from it. It's a win-win for the interns and for the small businesses. So
totally agree.
But without further ado, I really I'm so excited to introduce these two wonderful human beings to all of you. We have Lauren Banas, who Lauren is an intern for the Delta Principal, and we just love her.
And helps us with all of our podcast stuff.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. And then we have Reagan Lewis, who Reagan is my daughter's roommate, and I absolutely love her. They've been roommates for 3 years now. And so I would love to
a shout out real quick, Cyndi, to CSU, because CSU is an incredible college for women. My niece just graduated from CSU.
Woohoo! Oh.
One of Logan's best friends, Sammy, actually graduated from CSU. And I just think that they are such an incredible college for women. So I just want to shout that out.
I would agree. Thank you for doing that. So, Lauren, I would love for you to do a bit of an introduction to yourself, and then Reagan, I'll ask you the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm Lauren Banas. I have about 4 years of professional and academic experience in communications and marketing and content writing. And I actually just graduated from Colorado State in December with a degree in communication studies. I currently work for the Delta Principal and the HR podcast, and I'm also a marketing intern and digital communications intern at CSU in the microbiology, immunology, and pathology department. And I've got a little side passion in research into deliberative inquiry. Um, I'm currently branching out a little bit into freelance work with services and communications and marketing work, brand identity development, and early career growth coaching. And I'll be starting a full-time corporate position over the summer.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome. What an
Thank
amazing
you.
background.
I love
Thank
it.
you.
Miss Reagan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Well, thank you guys so much for having me on here. I'm so excited to be here. My name's Reagan. I'm a junior this year at Colorado State University. I'm studying business administration with a double concentration in both corporate finance and accounting. Um, I've had a previous internship at a construction supply firm, which was more so mergers and acquisitions firm. And that role itself was in accounting. And I recently kind of changed pathways a little bit, and I accepted an internship for this upcoming summer at Goldman Sachs in their operations division as a summer analyst. So I'm super excited for that this summer.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you. I appreciate
awesome.
that.
Yeah, big
Thank
shout
you.
out.
How impressive, right, Linda?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Thank you
I'm
guys.
always I'm always so impressed by our guest, Cyndi. I know we did the
Yeah.
episode on imposter syndrome. I have to tell you, there are many times when I'm like, man, I don't want to feel like an imposter doing these. Um,
Right. I know.
we
I
have such great guests. You ladies are
Yeah.
just so impressive, so
Thank
Oh,
excited to have
you.
thank
you here.
you.
Yeah, so happy to have the two of you on here. And, so I have a bazillion questions for both of you that I really feel like are going to help our community to really kind of better understand from your perspectives as interns. I'm happy that you guys both have a voice today to be able to share this stuff. So, can you just kind of each of you share what motivated you to apply for internships in the
Great
first
question.
place? And even how did you find out about those opportunities? And so, Lauren, we'll start with you on this one.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. For me, I was really looking to gain some practical skills and get hands-on work that was outside of the theory that I was really focusing on in school. Because I do have quite a bit of experience in research. That's kind of the track that I went on when I went to school. So I wanted to gain those practical skills, and learn how to use software, like design software and web design and all of that. So I also wanted to have amassed sort of a pretty substantial professional background and professional history before I graduated as well, because I think everyone's just kind of looking for what can give them an edge when they do look for a full-time position and do look for a job.
Great point.
So I think like a lot of students, I found my first internship at CSU through Handshake, which is like a job posting board. Um, and a lot of the other internships I have, like the one I had with you, Cyndi, I've been able to, gain through a really great network of people and just like through LinkedIn and having the confidence, I guess, to kind of reach out and ask for one.
Yeah.
So I think I got pretty lucky in those two opportunities.
As did we. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, Miss Reagan, let's ask you that same question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think during my first internship, and it was an accounting position. Before applying to that, I was very unsure of my major. I was originally declared as marketing for my entire freshman year. And my sophomore year, when I did make that change to finance and accounting, I had no idea if that's what I wanted to do. I was like, I'm good at it. Do I like it? Is it as boring as people say? I really had no idea. But I really wanted to have like kind of what Lauren said, just outside of textbook kind of context. I really wanted to have that real life context and see if that is a career that I would like to pursue. And I think for my first internship, at least, I wasn't really looking into a specific industry. I just knew I wanted to get some experience in accounting. And so, again, I used Handshake just like Lauren did through CSU. And that is a great way to access just a bunch of resources. And at least for CSU's College of Business, they even divide internship opportunities by your major. So it's like super easy and convenient to search for things that are that make the most sense to you. Little bit different for Goldman Sachs. After my experience at Kodiak Building Partners, I finally got the corporate experience that I was looking for. So I finally felt comfortable and like confident enough to apply for a role that I'm actually super interested in and a career that I'm interested in at a company that I'm interested in. Like I definitely, the second internship, I was able to get a lot more specific in my search.
You know, Cyndi, what I love about what both Lauren and Reagan said is that you did these internships, gave you an opportunity. College isn't cheap. And so, you know, you're making a huge investment in your future. And so you could go through 4 years of going to school and then get out there, get a job and find out like, oh my gosh, I hate this. This is, you know, and now I've just spent all this. So then you end up not utilizing the degree. What I love is that both of you have had that opportunity. And I also love the practical experience because as I'm sure you learned, Reagan, that what you learned textbook finance is not what real accounting actually is. And it is pretty fun. I mean, I did accounting for some time and it is, but it's nothing like what they teach you in the textbooks. So I love that. It's a really great, you know, lesson for other people who are looking at that. It's especially when you're early in college, in your college decision making is like go out there, test the water, see if what you're investing all that money and time in is really what you want to be doing. So
And I agree with you. I think the thing that stood out for me and what both of you said is you have theory and then you have real life. And, you know, Linda, you and I have had those conversations. You know, it's the experiences are really kind of what you're getting, you know, under your belt by doing these internships. And as a small business who was looking for an intern, you know, when Lauren reached out to me via LinkedIn, it made me think, gosh, you know, there's some things that number one, I'm no good at. And number two, so it'd be great to have a thought partner, right? And it'd be great to have someone who's excited about some of the things that I'm not good at. And also just, you know, having somebody to bounce ideas off of. Lauren and I have done a lot of brainstorming. We redid the logo at one point and did a lot of brainstorming around that and things like that. So from a small business perspective, bringing Lauren on and for the companies that Reagan has joined, bringing Reagan in, you know, fresh perspective. So
I totally
I think it's just hugely beneficial. And one of the things that I would say is, you know, when you and I back at the city and county of Denver, Linda, brought in Tyson, we were unable to pay her for her internship, which was fine at that time. I am a big believer in paying for internships. So I will just put that out there as well, because their time is valuable, their input is valuable. And so I'm a big fan of that. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So based on what you guys have both experienced, because you've had multiple internships, each of you, which I love that. What skills or experiences have you gained that you feel now help to prepare you? So Lauren, you know, you're now getting into your, you know, your career, right?
Yeah.
So what kinds of things do you feel like kind of added to that from your internships?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So yeah, I think like a lot of students and young people that do internships, obviously you gain a lot of hard skills. I learned how to use different softwares and, you know, web design apps and all of those things. I learned how to become comfortable in Adobe and Canva and all of those things. But what I found out got me a return offer from my summer internship was the fact that I was so willing to learn and try new things.
Yeah.
And in my closing interview, they were telling me that that's the most important part of an internship, is the fact that they see that you're willing to learn and that you're willing to try different things. Even if you don't know what you're doing, you can figure it out. So the most valuable thing, and I've had this in all of my internships, is being agile and knowing how to pivot if I don't know the answer to something, or being comfortable with going out and exploring and figuring it out myself, or even coming back and saying, I'm so sorry, I don't know the answer at this time, but I'm so willing to work with you to figure it out. That's so valuable.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Reagan, how about you?
Yeah, very, very similar to what Lauren said. I think you do learn a lot of hard skills in internships, specifically to accounting. Seeing the application of the general ledger, the sub ledger, daily balancing, that makes it was so useful to do those things daily in practice. But the biggest skill that I took away from my first internship is definitely understanding company culture. And of course, it's very, very different depending where you work at. But I worked in an office where there weren't necessarily cubicles. They're kind of shared desk spaces. And then the upper management had their own offices. And trying to decipher when I should approach someone at their desk, send them a message on Teams. Do I go to their office? Do I send them an email? It's small things like that where you don't really think about when you're applying to an internship, and then you get there and you're like, I haven't experienced this before and I don't know what's the right move. And even simple things like drafting an email, what's the format of that supposed to look like? And so the hard skills definitely super important in finance and accounting, but also I think understanding how to work with others in a corporate setting, that's probably the biggest skill that I was able to work on.
That
Love
is
that
so
soft
true.
skills, right? I mean, it is
Mhm.
so important to have those soft skills, and I love all the things that you brought up there too. Is thinking about that, and it's also why there is some importance if you have the opportunity, especially young in your career. Like I love remote work, and I'm a big, you know, love not having to go into an office every day. However, I will say that my younger self, had I not gone into an office every day, would not have learned the skills that I have to apply today to be able to be successful in a remote environment. Because you do have to learn all those things you were just talking about, Reagan, is like how to communicate, how you approach people, and getting comfortable in that setting so that you're good with what needs to happen. So I love that you brought up culture. That's a great one for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounds to me like there's the hard skills, right? Learning the tools and
Yeah.
things like Lauren and Reagan were both talking about,
Absolutely.
which is a key to the job.
Yeah.
But I think it's even more difficult to learn how to navigate the culture, navigate communicating with other people, brainstorming with other people, going back to somebody, as Lauren mentioned, and saying, hey, I'm not 100% certain, so I'd
I
rather
love that
ask
so
those
much,
questions,
Cindy. Yes.
advocating for yourself.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, and getting comfortable enough to say, I don't know.
That's right.
That's the hardest thing
Exactly.
for anybody, is to just say, I don't know. But I want to learn, and I'm here. And so I love that you said that, Lauren, because that's a skill people who have been
Oh my
in
goodness.
working for years and years and years
Yeah.
could still learn. It's like you have to, it's
Still
okay
learning.
to say, yeah, me too. I mean, it's okay to say, I
Uh,
don't know, but I want to know and I'm willing to learn.
I
So I
feel
love
like that's super scary, definitely as an intern, because feeling like maybe I'm new. Do I belong here? I feel like everyone has their cliques. So saying I don't know to a question, you
Yeah.
really, that used to terrify me, but it shows willingness to learn. And sometimes you just seriously don't know. But I think approaching someone and being honest and open and showing that willingness to learn means more than anything.
And Reagan,
It fits the whole growth mindset, right, Cindy? I mean,
yeah,
it really fits into that.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
And Reagan, just to follow on to that too, if somebody were to say, you know what, I'm not going to answer that question, or why are you asking that question? Is that really a company then that you would want to go back to?
Exactly.
Gives you some
Love
insight
that.
as well. And Lauren, I know
Mhm.
you're doing your second round of internship this summer with this big company. Had they, acted like that, maybe you might have second guessed
Right,
going back there,
right.
right?
No,
That's
that's
right.
100% true. And I think that, unfortunately, as young professionals, a lot of the time we're kind of taught that we don't know everything. Like
Yeah. Oh, yes.
everyone
Yeah.
loves to tell, graduating college students, like, you don't know what you don't know. But it's true,
Right.
we don't. So like I think we're accustomed to it. And the great part about that internship was that they didn't make me feel that way as well.
That
Like
is
I
Love
knew I
that.
didn't know what I don't know, but they were confident that I could figure it out, that I could come
yeah.
to know that. So it made
Yeah.
all the difference. Yeah.
I
And
love
there
that.
have been so many times, even posting for the Her Resources podcast where Lauren's like, I think I want to do this or I want to do that. And just kind of talking about the logo for the Her Resources podcast and things like that as well. I feel like if you're open as a business owner or as a podcast, host or what have you, when you bring in interns, if you can just remain curious and open to their feedback,
Mhm.
there's some amazing ideas that
Yep.
can come from, folks who are Gen Z or other generations, you know.
Well, and Cyndi, we're going to be having Kristen Scroggin on our podcast here in this
Yeah.
year, and I'm super excited about that. And what she focuses in on is multi-generational work places,
Yes.
and a lot of what you experience around that, Lauren and Reagan, with that, you don't know what you don't know, and it's almost like a punking type thing with younger people as well. And some of that comes from an older generation of feeling like, well, we had to learn. It's that school of hard knocks type of approach to it, and that's really not productive. Honestly, it doesn't help teach you anything by us withholding information or treating you like you don't know anything. Because to Cindy's point, many times things we have no idea about, and so bringing that fresh perspective. I know Cyndi loves to talk about being curious, and she's spot on with that. Is like we have to be willing to have that openness. Otherwise, it's not a mutually beneficial relationship in the internship program. So,
Absolutely. So, are there any challenges that either of you have faced in your internships that, you have had to navigate and kind of how did you navigate those? And Reagan, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my biggest challenge was definitely understanding the corporate lingo,
mm,
especially in finance and accounting. We've talked about this, but I've learned a very textbook kind of mindset. And so I would sit in on these meetings and they throw these words out like a P&L, for example. I had no idea what that was. It was a profit and loss statement, which is an income statement, but that just went right over my head. And as an intern, I wanted to look good. I didn't want to be like, I don't know what that is. So trying to research in my own time. But I encountered a lot of situations where there was lingo thrown at me and I just had to smile and nod and try to use my context clues to figure it out. And asking those stupid questions when needed, asking my manager, listen, I don't know what this is. If you could explain this, that would be great. But I think that was definitely my biggest challenge.
It's a really good point. And, I think I even go into work with clients now who throw out, we are all so big on acronyms, right?
big on
I
acronyms.
think,
We had an
now,
acronym thing. Remember, Cyndi, at McData, they had like an acronym.
everything.
Like
Oh,
there was like that
glossary.
glossary. That's the word I
Yeah.
was like, yeah.
This acronym means this. But I think when we go into meetings, so many times I raise my hand to Reagan and just say, hey, you guys just said this or that. And just want to make sure that I know exactly what you're talking about. So I guess one thing that I would say to business owners is, if you can, as you're talking about things, don't talk in acronyms, and just talk
Absolutely.
terms to people because like I do that with my clients too. I'm not going to talk about change management as if they know change management because if they did, why would I be there? You
Right.
know,
Exactly.
you're learning why, why use acronyms? Like, let's talk about what things really are, what
Mhm.
it really means and have those conversations. Lauren, what about you? What are some challenges that you faced?
Yeah. So I know we did just talk about this, but I will say that the not knowing period, it's a challenge for me every internship. And I do think that I felt, a bit of imposter syndrome when you go into these because there are things that I don't know. And as a really new professional, like I do feel like the most inexperienced and unqualified person in the room. And you don't want to raise your hand and ask because you don't want to seem like you don't know what you're doing. So definitely in those earlier internships I've had, and honestly to this day in that brief adjustment period at the beginning, it's really hard not knowing things, but I think I've had to force myself to get to a place where I'm comfortable with that feeling.
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
recognize that it is an opportunity for growth.
Mhm.
There's always going to be things that I don't know and things that I need to learn. There's things that everybody doesn't know.
Right.
So I have to force myself to look at it as a chance to gain some new skills and gain some new knowledge and also form connections with my coworkers and my supervisors. The more that I reach out and ask for help and look for maybe a one-on-one opportunity to teach me a new skill or form these mini mentorships, it's always so impactful. So I do really think that that's a challenge that I've had to turn into a benefit in a way.
It's a great
Mm-hmm.
call out, and I think that women experience that's, a lot more than men do because as women, we put a lot more pressure on ourselves to think that, we wanna be, accepted, we wanna be viewed as knowledgeable and really coming in, and so we have a tendency to kind of be, to pull back and not ask those questions, and we sometimes even assume that everybody else knows, and they don't, and I think, it is really important for you especially as young women, to make sure that you're advocating for yourselves. Ask those
Yes.
questions. I
Mhm.
guarantee you there are many people in that same room that have been there for a
Don't
long time
know.
who don't know either.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
really good. Ask the questions. Don't be afraid. Honestly, anybody who's worth their salt is going to look at that as a real strength and something that they're going to want to have in a person that is working for them is that willingness to step up and say, "Hey, I don't know." So good for you for getting more comfortable with that, Lauren, for sure.
Thank you.
So, what advice would you give to businesses, looking to create internship opportunities for students like you? And Reagan, we'll start with you again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having an intern can be so impactful on the business because we kind of talked about um, the incoming new ideas and how you can bounce ideas off your intern, but also it's so helpful to the intern themselves getting that real life experience. I thought the most impactful things that I experienced at my internship definitely dealt with work that was impactful and meaningful. I definitely struggled when I was handed busy work because I felt like more so unqualified and that was all I could really do to help. And I really wanted to sit in on those higher up meetings with our clients and work on projects that I saw people that were sitting around me also working on. So I think um, giving your interns projects that do have an impact on the business is super, super important. And then more so company culture wise, I think acknowledging your interns as employees is super, super helpful and integrating them into the business in whatever way you can. Silly example, but at Kodiak, um, I was a part of a group of around 5, 6 interns, and we had like a little initiation in the lunchroom with we had to eat like it was a challenge to eat who could eat the spiciest Buffalo Wild Wings, like something so silly like that. But the whole office was there, they were cheering, and it was so silly, but it made me feel so welcome there and
Good.
so incorporated into that culture. And so did the other interns because we were new. It was our third day. So yeah, just treating your interns like they are employees and they are very helpful to your business is super important.
I
I
love that.
love
That's a great.
that.
Okay, I think it's a great call out.
Right?
What you just said there is so important too, Reagan, because I was actually Janet Campman, who runs the intern program here at UKG. She always says, if you're looking for someone to come in and do busy work, then hire a temp, hire someone who has. Because when you're hiring an intern, it's an opportunity for you to learn the field, for you to really figure out if this is where you want to be and to leverage the skills that you have and then learn new skills in a job or field that you have an interest in. So just
Absolutely.
handing off busy work
No.
isn't helping you at all make any decisions or provide you with direction. So really great call out around that.
The prevalence of AI now too, I've learned in a lot of my classes how extremely useful it can be as a tool. And I think that is an amazing tool for busy work. In my accounting informations course, we were told that AI is kind of like an intern. You can pass off busy work and there might be mistakes. You might have to check it. But I think we should encourage busy work.
Pass off
that.
Exactly. I love that.
Cindy
and I would say it's our best, the best administrative assistant I've ever had has
Super
been
helpful.
AI. Yep, super helpful. Yeah, no, totally agree.
And one thing I would say before I ask you that same question, Lauren, is one thing that Lauren taught me too is to look at myself, to look at the business. And I kind of mentioned this before, but where are some gaps that I have? Where whether it be in time, skills, interest, there when you're running a small business, there's things that you should be doing. And so, when I met Lauren and we had a conversation, I was like, oh my goodness, she is such a great resource, very creative. She can write. She will, we incorporated Canva into our business, which I had no clue. And actually, Lauren's going to be doing a training with myself and my executive admin on that because she's learned so much about that. So look at it as this is somebody, like Reagan was saying, bring them into your business. Incorporate them as a part of your team because they bring a lot of value. So
absolutely.
Yeah. At the Delta Principle, we are transforming the way you experience change. Have you ever experienced an organizational change where your employees pushed back because it was too much, too fast, or they just didn't understand why they couldn't do things the way they've always done them? What about where communication was non-existent or unorganized, with important updates getting lost in the shuffle, leaving people confused? And have you ever experienced change where morale was at an all-time low because the change felt overwhelming and not aligned with your organization's culture? If you are being asked to lead an important organizational change, especially if you're new to leading change, or if you're just feeling overwhelmed, the Delta Principle is here to support you. We work closely with you as a trusted partner, co-creating real-world solutions to address your unique challenges, and we equip you and your organization for future success. Are you gearing up for your next transformation journey or exploring ways to strengthen your change management skills? Then let's connect. This year, we're thrilled to introduce Leading Change, a training designed for leaders driving organizational initiatives, and Navigating Change, a training tailored to empower teams and adapting to change with confidence. Our coaching and training sessions are fully customizable to meet your organization's unique needs. Reach out today to see how we can partner with you to make your next change a success. You can find us on LinkedIn or by emailing us at info@thedeltaprinciple.com. So, Lauren, same question for you then. What advice would you give to businesses?
Yeah, I want to echo that and say, go back to the basics. Like, internships don't have to be this crazy out of this world experience. Like, obviously it should be good and productive for both parties, but if you have a solid foundation for the intern, if you're onboarding them, in a very hands-on and engaging way, and you're making sure that they're supported throughout the whole internship, that's really all you need to build off of. And I think you should focus on getting that down first before adding anything fancier on top. And also, in terms of onboarding, internships can be really intimidating, especially big office corporate ones. So making sure from day one that interns or day one or day two that interns know everyone in the office, that they're seeing faces and putting names to faces and recognizing who they have as their support system. And they do know the office lingo, like where's the glossary for all the terms?
Right? Yeah, where do I go find
Yeah,
those
where do you go
acronyms?
for that? And
Yeah.
how do I access the intranet? And like, what do
Yeah.
we do for lunch? Like, those are all really simple things that
Where's the
can be really scary.
bathrooms?
Yeah, where's the bathroom?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those things can
Yeah.
be so,
Felicity.
so scary from day one, especially in a big
Right.
office environment. And so like,
Yeah.
and I think they're overlooked a lot too because they are so little, but they mean a lot to us. So I think making
Yeah.
sure that you
Big
get
deal.
those down and that interns know those things going forward is super important. And I would say, and this might be controversial because I know a lot of people do love remote work, and I love remote work and I love the hybrid environment, but bringing interns into the office is
100% agree
so
with that.
important.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
like
agree.
the
Yep.
energy, the office culture, it is 100% different being in person than it is if
Yes.
like I was to do an internship where I never even knew what my boss looked like, or if I was just like turning in a project and emailing it through. Like that's completely
Oh,
different. And I've learned great skills, remotely with you, Cyndi, and completely different ones being in the office. So I feel very well-rounded in that regard. But I think
Awesome.
like if you have a big corporate internship or something along those lines, if you have the ability to, try to bring interns in person.
Yeah.
that is really great advice, Lauren. I know it's one thing I'll give a shout out to our company, UKG. They do a really nice job with the intern program and doing exactly that because we are a global company. And so, yeah, the interns are spread out all over, but they actually bring all the interns in. And then, Reagan, what you were talking about, like with the wing eating contest, they also do they do a competition where they have to put together a presentation and then all the executives. So they also have access to all the senior level executives because you also need to demystify the idea that just because they're the CEO or the president, that somehow they're untouchable. They're not. They're just people. It's just a title, and you should have access to those people as well because maybe you have aspirations to be a president or CEO at an organization sometime. So wouldn't it be great to have direct access to people like that so you can learn from as well? So really great call outs from both of you. And I couldn't agree more. Onboarding is important in general, right, Cyndi? I mean, that is like something that's so important, but it's even more important in an internship program because oftentimes it's shorter, right, than if you're bringing somebody on. And so you have to kind of really set the stage very early on and very quickly to make sure that it is a really positive experience for
Yeah.
everyone. Yeah.
And in order for an intern to be able to support your business, they need to learn about your business.
I
So
mean, yeah.
I mean, why
Yeah.
would you not do that? So to me, it's just common
Absolutely.
sense. And like we have a deck that we go through to talk about the business, to talk about the goals. Because to Lauren's point, we're remote. We do get together every so often for dinner with the team. So we all get to
Right.
talk and visit
Yeah.
and celebrate. Like, we
Yeah.
recently did that to celebrate all the great stuff from
Yeah.
Yeah.
last year. And,
Nope.
it's very important to make those connections. The bigger companies too, to both of your points, having you both go in,
Yes.
learning those cultures, getting to see, and choose too, right? In the future, hey,
Absolutely.
my preference would be to work for a big organization. My preference would be to work for a small company or somewhere in the middle. It just gives you better exposure. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, plus I think you learn better interpersonal skills in person because I definitely learned a lot. And like I say, as a younger person, I know I couldn't have worked remotely for a number of reasons. One would have been focus as well. So it's like I was a young mother with children. I could not have had the level of focus that you need to have either. But I do think having that balance, and even for me as a 100% remote person, I connect with my team. We get together. I'll fly them out, or I'll fly to them. Also, it's just important for us as an organization. So, like my boss, we get together. We have our leadership meetings because when you're in person, it's a different experience interpersonally, right, than when you're in a remote
that's right.
environment. And so it is really important because you have to learn all of those skills because in the world we live in today, it's not one size.
It is very
Sometimes you might
hybrid.
be remote. So yeah, it's all hybrid. So so that's really good stuff. I love it.
So true. So What advice, and Lauren, we'll start with you this time. What advice do you have for other college students who want to land meaningful internships?
Yeah, great one.
I love this question because it's a lot of what I talk about with the few clients that I've had so far with like the early career coaching is that you are evaluating them like as much as they're evaluating you. So when you go and look for an internship and when you're looking for something to do, keep that in mind. Like think about what
Absolutely.
it is that you want to get out of your experience and then put that in your filters on like a job board or look up people who align with your values and companies that align with your values and ask for an informational interview, stuff like that.
Yes.
It's very helpful, I think, in getting yourself out there and figuring out what it is that you want to do. And also being confident in your ability is huge because you're the only person who knows how qualified you are. So it's your responsibility to translate that to the company that you want to be with or the person you want to work under. And so, having confidence in yourself, knowing what you've achieved and taking that and translating it into a cover letter or resume, whatever that may be, is, I think, really, really important.
I like that.
Awesome, Lauren. Reagan, how about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's definitely great power in networking. I think that really strengthened my ability to make those connections and therefore get the relative opportunities. I think, especially for Goldman, which was super competitive, I was able to reach out to CSU alumni who currently work at Goldman. I reached out to them on LinkedIn and just expressed my interest in the company. And I actually ran into one of them at the CSU College of Business Career Fair, and he recognized my name. So I think that definitely gave me an edge. So network whenever possible. There's so many resources and tools out there now, like LinkedIn and Handshake, where it makes reaching out to people so easy. And like Lauren said, you just have to have the confidence to do so. I definitely struggle with imposter syndrome and feeling like I'm not qualified for a lot of these positions, but neither are a lot of people. Like a lot of people our age, we don't have the 4 years, 10 years of experience under our belt. It's just not realistic. So just managing your expectations and understanding that you can apply for these roles even if you don't feel super qualified. And that's what internships are there for. It's a learning opportunity. And so just apply, use your resources to network. And yeah, I think that's the best advice I can give.
Like that. And, I'll tell both of you that even the people that have the 5, 10, 15 years of experience, they don't know it all either. And so, we are all dealing with that. It's always been silly to me, the idea of companies having entry-level positions and then expecting 3 to 5 years of experience.
Yeah,
That is not the definition of an
Entry-level
position.
Yeah.
So yeah, apply for it. Go for it. Who cares if you don't have the experience? You have knowledge, you have a willingness to learn. And when you're willing to dig in there, if I would have let that stop me early on in my career, I would never have applied for any of the jobs that I did. I jumped in with both feet, not knowing what I was doing. And, I got very fortunate to work for organizations who saw something in me and were willing to then train and teach and guide me along the way. And so don't let that get in your way. Like definitely just jump in. What's the worst that's going to happen, right? I
Absolutely.
mean, so there's lots of other opportunities out there if that doesn't turn out to be the right one for you. But don't let it stand in your way, and don't feel like you have to have 100% of the requirements down pat either, because most people don't know all of it, and so definitely don't let that get in your way at all. I like that for sure. And Lauren, I love what you said. I'm sorry, Cindy, I'm hogging all that time there. You go ahead. I can't help it. These ladies are so you can just talk to them all the time. I know.
Yeah,
I feel like I've got to jump in here. Yes. No, you go ahead.
No worries. I was just going to say the same thing. Like, I love that you both talked about being confident, and that is not easy. And I know we all feel like imposters sometimes, and I am way further along in my career than either of you ladies are, but I love that you recognize that it takes confidence, and good on you for going for it, because Linda, you and I have met Ali Mercier, who talked about the hidden workforce and
Yes.
women who don't apply for jobs because they feel like they don't tick every single box. Don't worry
Absolutely.
about ticking every single box. You both have
Yes.
so much to offer. you know?
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. And Lauren, I also like what you said there is be confident enough to go after what it is that you want as well. So it's not enough for, because then you may have a bad experience because you haven't set some of the criteria for success for yourself. So think about what it is that you want, what you hope to get out of it, and ask for it. It's a great step forward in thinking about how you're going to negotiate your future careers, even how you're going to negotiate your future pay. Is that get comfortable, get confident with asking for and saying what it is that you want and what you need. You may not get all of that, but that's okay. You got to be comfortable enough to ask the questions. That's what's most important. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
I
yeah.
love that too. Like, it just as I do as a business owner, thinking about where do I need somebody to come in and help me out.
Yes.
You guys taking, sort of a look internally and saying, what am I looking for? Why am I looking for it? What experiences do I want to get, and kind of getting clear on that. And Lauren, you probably talked to your clients about this. How do I get clear on what I want before
Yeah.
I go out and start doing those informational interviews?
Yes.
I'm looking at
Absolutely.
organizations, to see if they would be interested in me coming in to
Yeah.
intern for them.
Yeah,
I
no,
love that.
absolutely. And along
No.
that line, kind of, it's like taking initiative and
Yeah.
seeing like what gaps you can fill, or like where can
Yes.
you be instrumental? Where can you be
Right.
necessary? Like, and that, of course, along with that comes doing a lot of research about the company, but you should really be doing that anyway. And so doing that research and like finding out, oh, I could be of use here, and then
Yes.
maximizing on that and capitalizing on that.
Absolutely. You're responsible for creating your own future. I think that's the biggest mistake we often
Yes.
make in our careers is that we look for the company or we look for someone else to kind of set that path for us. But even with that, I'll say, in my own experience, I've created my own path in my jobs. In every company or organization I've ever worked for, I've decided what I thought that position should look like, and I created my own path forward because when I sat and waited, nothing happened. And so you really have to take that and embrace that. So I'd encourage you both, as you're on this journey, is to think about those things. Ask for it, be bold, ask the questions, set forth your expectations. That's women don't do that enough. We don't advocate for ourselves enough. We just did an episode on self-advocacy with Allie that's going to be posting here, and yeah, I think it's one of the things that I think young women need more than ever is to learn how to advocate for themselves. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah. So you both are great examples of that. Well,
We
Cyndi, just
are.
because, like, as we tie this back a little bit to HR, so, like, what are some things that HR a role they can play in creating internship programs?
Yeah.
Because I know for you, you happen to be the CHRO and the CEO for your company, and so you have some hands-on experience around doing that. But for other organizations as well, like thinking about creating structured programs, right? I
Yes.
think that's really important. It needs to be structured, which I think is the
Absolutely.
point you were making, Lauren, and you as well, Reagan, is that it needs to be a structured program. It's gonna otherwise it's not beneficial. Paid internship programs, like you said, Cyndi, it's
Yes.
important to pay your interns. Ensuring diversity, inclusion, and equity, right? Partner with women's organizations and
Yes.
diversity focus groups to attract a wider pool of candidates. And then offer mentorship opportunities to increase retention of your female interns as well. So another thing that HR can do. And then really measuring success in career pathing, right? So that's where HR can play a role as well as tracking intern to employee conversion rates and retention, creating leadership pipelines to nurture top performing interns into full-time roles. HR plays a role in all of
Right.
that. And so, I don't know, Cyndi, what other advice would you give?
Well, and that's a huge benefit, right? When you find a good intern, if there's a way to make them a part of your employee group, to hire them on as a full-time employee. It's like a full circle moment. We mentioned Tyson Martens at the city and county of Denver, and she's still there. And this was back in 2007, 2008. Is when we brought her in as an intern. So, it's a benefit for the organization because you've invested time and resources into these amazing interns. So why wouldn't you want them to come back and be a part of your organization, right?
Absolutely.
The other thing that I would say, and we've all kind of talked about this, is some really good resources are LinkedIn. Really is a good resource. And you can kind of look, so for me, LinkedIn and Handshake were the two sort of resources that I've used to find interns. I have gotten 3 interns so far. And so Lauren has been the longest standing that I had, we redid our website. And so I went on Handshake, and we've all talked about Handshake. And for businesses, you can get in there and say, hey, I live in Colorado. I'm looking for Colorado State University, CU Boulder, Front Range Community College. Here's what I'm looking for. So you can find interns that way. The onboarding, I cannot stress enough just how important that is so that they learn your business and to try and bring them on successfully and make it as low a lift as possible for them to just get in there and start doing their thing, and start adding value and start feeling like they're a part of it, just as Reagan had mentioned earlier. And then at the end of the day, just kind of having, conversations with them every so often, meeting with them every so often, checking in with them. How are things going? What can I do? Things like that.
Oh, yeah. I think those little moments when a manager would come over to my desk and just, hey, how are you? It might have been a couple minutes out of their day, but those moments stuck with me because
awesome.
A lot of times interns are overlooked sometimes. So just having those little connections here and there throughout the day, super impactful.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, what would you two ladies like to leave our listeners with today? What parting words of wisdom would you have?
Oh, yeah, I could go first.
You go ahead. You jump in, Lauren.
Yeah, I think the last thing I'll say and what I'll leave people with is you have to try so hard not to be fearful. And that's really hard. It's really hard to do. It is. And I think it can seem easy because you can see other people do it and it looks effortless, but they're probably scared too. So just try your hardest, do the best you can to feel confident, feel comfortable, and know that if something is scary, it's not the end of the world and it will probably get better. And there are really incredible people out there who just want to see you succeed. So lean on those people. Like Cyndi, you have been my biggest supporter from day one. And I know that wherever I go in my career, I can always come back to you and tell you what's going on. And you'll be a sounding board, or you can help connect me to someone. So lean on those people if you're afraid, because they can help you as well.
Love that.
What Absolutely. About you, it's kind of exactly what Lauren said. I think during the application process, imposter syndrome is a real thing, and we've talked about it a lot throughout this podcast. And it's kind of silly, but there is a comfort in knowing that a lot of people who are applying for internships are experiencing the exact same thing. A lot of people in these roles are experiencing the exact same thing, and a lot of older professionals too experience the exact same thing. I think having that confidence, even if it's faking that confidence, you have to sometimes be uncomfortable to eventually be comfortable. So putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations, like going to those career events, reaching out to people on LinkedIn, even if you don't feel like you're qualified to do so. I think it's so important to just fake it until you make it. And Linda, I really liked what you said earlier. It kind of gave me peace of mind when you said that you have the power to shape where your career goes, and you have the power to shape your role in some situations in some companies. And I think that's super comforting because you're not stuck in a position if you don't want to be.
Absolutely. No, I think one of the best lessons I think I've learned throughout my life is that piece of it is that, you are in control. And
Yeah.
so figure out what it is that you want to do and forge that path forward. And the worst that they're going to say is no. And I mean, and
Yeah.
that's okay. So, but don't stay in the wrong place for the wrong reasons. It's like,
Yeah.
do it.
Try
Just
it
do it.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Experiment and refine and
Yeah.
find your people. I love
Absolutely.
that that I'll always be there for you, Reagan.
Mhm.
Now you've got Linda and me, both of you,
Absolutely.
to
Yes.
cheer you on. And I can't tell you both how much you both mean to me and how impressed I am with the two of you.
And I
Thank you
will
Thank
guys.
attest to that
you.
because she has spoken about you guys a lot. So it was so great to get to meet you both. I mean, I can definitely see why Cyndi is so impressed. And Lauren, thank you for everything you do on the podcast. And
Yeah.
Reagan, best of luck at Goldman
Thank
Sachs. How
you.
fun
Thank
that's going to
you.
be. And we are there for you absolutely. So anything we can do, our networks are your networks, and if we can help you along the way,
Yes.
don't hesitate to reach out. We got to help each other out and lift each other up. So,
Absolutely. Thank
yeah.
you guys
Thank
so
you.
Thank you
much.
so
Yeah,
much
Thank
for your
thank you so
time.
you.
much.
Absolutely. Well, we hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.
You as
And to
well.
all of
Thank
our
you.
listeners out there, thank you for tuning in, and we'll look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Thanks, Cyndi.
Thank you, Linda. This was fun. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of the HR Her Resources podcast. We're so happy to have you with us on this journey. Music and production by Logan Misegadis of LJM Productions. We'd also like to thank our intern, Lauren Banas, for creating our logo and supporting our social media postings. If you'd like to connect with Logan or Lauren, you can find their information in the show notes. If you found value in our discussion and think someone else might as well, please follow and subscribe to our LinkedIn and share with a friend. Until our next episode, please take care and continue to support one another.